I recycle because I know I have a duty to protect my country as well as the world at large. If we say that we want to move towards a better future for future generations, we have to make sure that the earth is free from the effects of pollution and climate change. That's why I want to encourage you to recycle.
Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. And in studio with us this morning is one Miss Candice Ming, and she's Marketing and Public Relations Manager of Recycling Partners of Jamaica. And of course, Candice, they're putting plastic in its place this morning.
Absolutely.
Recycling Partners of Jamaica, you've been doing a wonderful job of helping change our culture, getting things right with waste. Talk to me about that.
Well, let's get a little bit back into the history. We started in 2014 as a producers organization with our partners, Wisinco, Pepsi, Grace Kennedy, Lasco, Seprod, SM Jalil, and Coalfield Manufacturers.
Wow.
A long list. And they formed a partnership with the government of Jamaica to create an entity to collect the plastic bottles that are consumed in Jamaica every year. Now, the initial goal was to collect the roughly 800 million plastics that are produced in Jamaica every single year. But now we've expanded that to be collecting the plastics that are also imported, which increases that number substantially. And so we put the infrastructure in place to collect those plastic bottles and ensure persons are rewarded from it, whether it's a feeling of contributing to the environmental cleanliness and health of the environment, or to earn from our deposit return scheme, which is also an incentive for persons to recycle as well. So we provide the big blue receptacles that people see over the place, 6 by 6 cages. Some of them are 4 by 6, 4 by 4, or the 55-gallon drums. Pretty much any organization or individual can request these to implement recycling in their space.
All right, so there ended. Oh, no. Candice, you just rolled off everything for the interview in one go. But you did say 800 million plastic bottles. And it's as if that was not a big number. You said we've expanded it.
Yes, yes.
Talk to me. How have you managed to do all of that?
Well, we partner with agencies. By virtue of our name, Recycling Partners, we cannot do this alone. And so we recognize that we need partners to do this as well. So we've approached majority of the schools across the country to be with us on that journey to ensure that they're collecting the plastics from the communities around them. We are partnering with churches, with service stations, with NGOs and other organizations, financial institutions. Quite a lot of them have requested, including the stock exchange, have requested a cage and are collecting internally through programs that we facilitate by a sensitization session. We also have structured communities that are putting the bins in place to ensure that their community members adopt a culture of recycling, because I think by now most Jamaicans recognize that the landfills do not have the capacity to be hosting all these plastic bottles plus the other type of consumables that end up there in the first place. And plastics represent an opportunity for us to reuse this instead of going to search for new raw material.
Which is where I was going now. The next question. Why is it important for you to be concerned about all of this plastic?
If we don't recycle or find other ways to use the stuff that we consume, at some point our landfills are going to be at capacity. And we're going to have to keep searching for other locations that we could be putting to better use. We actually need more real estate. We need further development of our country. We can't be using that space for landfills. And plastic presents an opportunity for us to reuse them to do something else. So when we collect them, we compress them into bales, we send them to a recycler overseas that grinds them down into their original format. It eventually gets melted back, so it becomes a raw material and can be used to make not only other plastic bottles, but tables and plastic tiles, roofing tiles, wall tiles, toys, and sometimes polyester, which is also a part of polyethylene. So we have the opportunity now to protect what would have otherwise been disrupted to find raw material and reuse what already exists to create something that's new.
The environment. So there's been much talk, more recent times, about the environment and the damage that we do and climate change and all of this. Is this really relevant? We're here in the Caribbean, sun shining every day.
Are you comfortable walking outside and seeing garbage on the roadways?
Absolutely.
Or going to a beach and a bottle washes up beside you?
Certainly.
We are not. And so it takes small actions such as separating your plastic bottles from regular garbage to see that change, right? A lot of us will talk about how annoyed we are with seeing how dirty Jamaica is. And quite frankly, too many Jamaicans are comfortable being surrounded by garbage. And we see that when we go into our commercial districts, how careless people are. You're driving on the roadways and you toss whatever garbage you have in your vehicle. The simple change would have been to keep that garbage that you have inside your car until you get to a destination with a bin and toss it in. Instead, we are so comfortable with dirtying up Jamaica because we feel that somebody else is going to be doing that for us that we just carelessly toss it aside. So, one is that we want to implore Jamaicans, you are not going to be eating at your dinner table and throw the bone at your feet.
Absolutely not.
Don't do the rest of the country like that. This is where we live. Your house is a part of the grander Jamaica, so think of Jamaica as the inside of your home and try to keep it clean. Small changes. Just separate your plastics from the garbage. Keep your garbage, whatever it is, in your vehicle until you get somewhere else. And whenever you get the opportunity, because so many of us in the past have done this kind of careless activity, as often as you can get the opportunity to, participate in a cleanup exercise. A beach cleanup, a roadside cleanup. And there is so much satisfaction that comes from doing that. Trust us, we know we've done so many of them. There is a satisfaction that comes out of seeing somewhere that was filthy before, how nice and beautiful it is. And you realize that pretty much everywhere in Jamaica has the potential to be beautiful if we just adopt the mindset to keep it clean.
Great. All right. So what you're talking about is almost an entire mindset change of an entire nation, a cultural, pivot, if you may. How has that progressed for you? I mean, since you started, what you saw at the initial stages, I mean, you talk about all the beach cleanup that you've done. How has that been progressing for you in terms of your successes and your wins?
Well, people like numbers, right? RPJ decided in 2020 that it was going to set up a public education campaign. It was collecting roughly £600,000 a year.
Okay.
We ended last year with 3.5 million. And so we're very proud of that progress that we've seen over the course of a relatively short period of time. There are some developed countries that have not seen that rate of increase in such a short space of time, and so we're very proud of that. But we recognize that at the core of it, it has to be a cultural change that Jamaica goes through. Most people really do not like to be told, oh, well, you need to do this. We have to impress on them the why it is important. We all love beauty. We all love to see a beautiful Jamaica, but it is our actions that's going to ultimately make it clean and keep it clean. And so that understanding being the main focus of our public education drive has been what is propelling that. Also making it convenient for persons. So putting the recycling bins at locations that they frequent, supermarkets, restaurants, schools, churches, places that have high traffic, makes it more visible for them. And when persons see it, then they're more likely to do it. And so we're really proud of that. We did a survey early this year in January, asking persons about their motivations for recycling. And we're proud to say that 75% of those respondents actually said that a beautiful environment is what they're striving towards. So we see now that the mindset is shifting. And every time we get a request for one of these receptacles or a simple message on our social media pages, how can I be a part of this? What can I do? You know, we realize that Jamaicans are actually now buying into it. And so it's just for us now to push the message a little bit more for it to be accepted by a wider set. What we're also very proud of is that it's mostly the younger generation that's buying into it and making that change. And so you know that this is going to grow with them for the rest of their lives. And when it becomes their daily habit to be doing it, their children and their children's children are going to be doing it. So over time, we're going to see Jamaica actually become a recycling country, a full recycling country.
And that's a big statement.
Aye.
Over time, you expect Jamaica to become a full recycling country.
Absolutely. We know it's not going to happen tomorrow, you know.
It will.
But it will, yes.
Talk to me about businesses and how they've responded versus, you know, say individuals and homes and personal approaches.
Well, of course, for most businesses, their corporate social responsibility environment is going to come up a part of that. And so most businesses will reach out to us about setting up recycling systems in their space, which often begins with a sensitization sessions that we're more than happy to facilitate, because that's where people learn about how to recycle, and what can't, and making the distinction between the two. And of course, a lot of people want to know about the impact of recycling as well. And then they will take these receptacles and they are always willing to be publicized as a drop-off point. So persons from the outside can bring their plastics to these organizations, and it puts them in a good light because they are making a contribution to Jamaica's environment health by having that recycling receptacle on their location. Right.
All right. As you talk about that education part, I know certainly you've been into the schools.
Yes.
How would you say the schools have received, you know, the program, the different students? Are you seeing certainly them impressing or leading the cause for change in that? And so you'd say, is the program in the schools working?
Yes, the program in the schools are working. Whenever we have an event that we're participating in, and if we have 20 people walk up to our bins to toss a plastic in, 18 of those will be children. We've been looking at this for about 3 years, right?
Listen, hold on. Adults, you've got to do better.
The children really catch on to it a lot quicker than the adults, right? And our GM likes to tell a story about a situation where he went with his children to a location and they're cycling up the hill and a plastic bottle falls and rolls back down about a mile because they're going uphill. And at the top of the hill, his daughter turns to him and goes, well, you need to go back for that one plastic bottle. And so we love how the children are buying into it. And when you go into the schools that are actively on the program, you will rarely ever see a plastic bottle out of its place, which is in the recycling bin at the school. Right? And it's also a source of financial benefit for the schools as well, because we register them on our DRS program. And so the schools are earning up to $50 per kilogram for the plastics they collect. And so in our last rollout of the program, we encourage the schools to get the communities involved, get the businesses involved.
And by DRS, you mean?
The deposit return scheme on plastic bottles. Now, most Jamaicans will be familiar with a DRS on glass bottles.
Glass bottles, yes.
Right. But because plastic is so light and so cheap to manufacture, which is how it replaced glass in the first place, we pay on weight, which is per kilogram. And that's going to be around 48 PET bottles. But if you mix it with HDPE, you get to that kilogram a lot faster with less.
No, man, you can't roll out these. PE what?
PET.
PET and RS.
So there are two types of plastics that are recyclable. PET, which is mostly going to be the light plastic bottles that you see, your water bottles, your juice bottles, you know. Those would likely be PET. And PET, for the brighter among us, polyethylene terephthalate. And it's represented.
I won't attempt that.
It's represented by the number 1 in a little triangle that's usually at the base of the plastic bottle, or it's sometimes on the side. The thicker plastics that you'll have ketchup come in and the bleach come in, right? Those are going to be numbers 2, and it's high density polyethylene, HDPE, right? Those make up about 80% of the plastics that we consume on a daily basis. And it's not just in our kitchens. It's in our bathroom, on our vanities in our bedrooms.
80%?
80%, yes, but 1 and 2 usually falls.
HD.
HDPE and
I thought it was-
PETE.
Oh, both together make
Both
up 80%.
together
Oh,
make up
okay,
80% of the
okay.
plastics that we're going to look at. So your shampoo bottles, conditioner, your lotion, your body wash, your hair care products, most of those will fall into category 2. You go into your kitchen, the little spices that you use to make your food taste good as Jamaicans, your oil bottles, your soy sauce bottles, those are going to fall into 1 as well. And then if you look at the cleaning agents that we use to keep our homes clean,
Okay.
you know, the toilet bowl cleaners, the all-purpose cleaners, the floor cleaners, furniture polish, all of these are recyclable and they will fall within 1 or 2.
Okay. You mentioned financial rewards, certainly for the schools.
Yes.
Aren't there, I travel to the States and I see people actively out there picking up bottles, pushing carts of bottles. This is what they do on a daily basis. Is it financially rewarding for somebody who would dedicate their time to doing it?
We have persons that have made businesses out of recycling.
Businesses?
Yes, they've made a business.
And they
out
make
of,
money,
They make money, yes.
not just doing it for the love.
We have
not
a
the- not the
vendor
like.
that 2 years ago, his annual pull in financially was about $1 million.
That's giving you back buckle.
That's from selling plastics to us alone. So it's a
Wonder if I
viable
need to change.
it's a viable side hustle, and we applaud those persons because it takes a lot of effort to collect the plastic bottles.
Yes,
It really does, and to ensure that the caps come with us, and then sometimes they twist the plastics or crush them to save on space, which is perfectly fine and encouraged. In order to do all of this and to ensure that your bottles are empty and they're free of debris, and then they take it to us, or they give us a call and we come and collect it from them once it's over 68 kilograms.
But money aside, you'd say it is rewarding, certainly for the economy and the society.
It's rewarding, and I'm glad that Jamaicans think so as well, because going back to the survey that we mentioned earlier, only 6% of the country actually partakes in the deposit return scheme. It's open to everyone, but I think most persons would more likely take on the initiative of recycling for the environmental impact that it has.
Yeah. How can we get our numbers up in terms of, I know you've been working hard, what next do we see in terms of ensuring that you get, that number up in terms of people just ensuring that we're compliant, plastic really is in its place?
Well, the role of RBJ in that is to make sure that we have more receptacles distributed across the island, where people can see it without having to call us and tell us that. Ask us where are our receptacles. So having more receptacles conveniently located, having every community as possible have a bin there so that their community members can recycle in their homes. Getting all of Jamaica's 1,600 schools on board, getting organizations like the Churches Corporation on board with us. So most churches, if not all of them, will have that, have a receptacle at their locations. That's where we see us going, having partnerships on a wider scale to make recycling convenient. Also for Jamaicans to educate themselves, learn what is recyclable and how to recycle, which is very simple. Empty the plastics, toss it and the cap back in a bag. Separate it from regular garbage. When we make this a part of our daily habits, we will see the plastics coming in a lot more, right?
Okay.
We also are going to, we need to implore the government's involvement in this, because we know that these countries that we go to and we see recycling working very well, it's not just being done on a private level. There has to be some laws that accompany it as well.
And that's where I was going. Do you think we would need, as you mentioned, laws, possible fines for people who don't separate the garbage, don't
all
put
for
the...
fines, but I think these fines need to be enforced. I don't think Jamaica has a problem with fines. I think Jamaica has a problem with enforcement. And so some of those fines very well apply to recycling right now, the ones that are currently on the book, but they need to be enforced, right? We cannot have new developments taking place without any infrastructure being added to that development package that does not include recycling, and not just of plastic bottles, of different items that are recyclable. We have cardboard, we have cans, we have glass. We need to take a national approach to recycling and understand that there are other material. We promote the recycled plastic bottles because that's what we collect.
Yes.
But there are other recyclers out there as well that take electronics, oil, glass,
Yes.
paper, cardboard. Where is the government initiative to ensure that people are taking initiative towards recycling these items? That's what we need to see.
That's very important. Finally, rural versus urban. Is there a difference in how they dispose of or recycle or?
Our vendors, I think, and we call the people who participate in our DRS vendors, we have most of them in Kingston.
Mostly Kingston.
Yes.
So we need
but
to
you know,
step
Kingston
up our game.
We need to step up. We need to step up our game. We are actively looking at ways on how to do that. But I think more rural areas, and I think it's because we are based primarily in Kingston, and where our depots are located, we will have quite a number of vendors because we're in St. Thomas, we're in Westmoreland, we have 2 locations in St. James, one in Manchester, Martins Hill, and one in St. Mary. And so these areas will have heightened amounts of recycling taking place because we have an active presence there. But where we're not active, those other parishes, the collections are naturally lower than in those. So once we spread out, we should see an increase.
Absolutely great. And nice chatting with you today. I'm happy that we're on the mend, we're improving as far as the recycling of plastic is concerned. We know the damage it can do to the environment.
Oh, yes, we see it.
And our guest this morning, Candice Ming, talking to us, and she's Marketing and Public Relations Manager for Recycling Partners of Jamaica. Don't know why we need to market that, but there you go. That's why we do these programs, you know. We tell you every day, we give you information to make better financial decisions, and recycling is a great financial decision to make. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9. We'll have another wonderful show lined up for you.
Check, love and respect. Now, I recycle because it's one way I can play a part or contribute to the realities that I would like to see, which include clean and safer communities, more sustainable and safer ways of disposing of waste, and also it's a way to preserve the ecosystems that we all rely on. Please recycle. Respect.